can tell me what Mr. Floyd says in this instance. You hear what he said?
No, I couldn't make it out.
Does it sound like he says, I ate too many drugs? Listen again.
I can't make that out, no.
So in the chaos of a situation, things can be missed, right?
Yes.
You would agree that at one point during the exchange, Mr. Floyd was advised that he was under arrest, right?
Yes.
In fact, that happened a couple of times, right?
Yes.
Now, at the point they have Mr. Floyd on the ground, you would agree and you're aware that officers called for EMS, right?
Yes.
It's reasonable for an officer to call EMS, right?
Yes.
If there is an injury, right? Or some need.
Or a complaint of injury or some discomfort or medical emergency, yes.
And you understand that in this particular instance, very shortly after Mr. Floyd was on the ground, officers called for EMS.
Yes.
They called for
initially for his injury to his head.
To his face, or mouth
Yes.
injury, right? And they called it they called EMS in a non-emergent situation, right?
Correct.
And that happened at 8:19 and 49 seconds. Code 2 EMS for a mouth injury, right?
Yes.
And this occurred at the point when officers were discussing whether or not to use the hobble restraint on Mr. Floyd, right?
Yes.
And ultimately, officers did not use the hobble restraint, right?
Correct.
A hobble restraint would generally require officers to consider calling EMS, right? According to Minneapolis Police Department policy.
According to Minneapolis Police Department.
And may be different in other jurisdictions, right?
Correct.
So as officers are discussing and ultimately they decide, you agree, that they decide not to use the hobble device.
Yes, they did not use the hobble device.
And we talked a little bit earlier about the de-escalation component of things,
Yes.
right? A decision to use or to not use a higher form of force that you may have been authorized to use can actually be a de-escalation technique. Agreed?
In certain instances, yes.
Right. So officers making a decision not to increase the level of force can be viewed as a de-escalation technique.
Yes.